Good morning, friends. Good morning, good people. Today's rant and tirade is about Putin or Putin uh, doing some circuits and circles in Belarus. So I'm gonna make my comments here. Uh, I don't even need the beluga whale hat. So I told you the other day that belugas has big brains. They do, but that dome above their head is really for electro-organic communications and detection system. They see with that dome more than they can see with their visual sights, more than we can see. Anyways, I put a tweet, and I'm gonna elaborate on that tweet, as to make it clarify some points on it. First point I'm gonna make is this: when the information when Putin has very important instructions or information or whatnot to give, he doesn't transport that or transmit that through proper channels such as secure communications, such as envoys or intelligence agencies and so on. No, he goes personally. There are information that he and his very small Lizard Eye Cabal circle, Lizard Eye Cabal club, right? In Moscow, and so he goes in person. That is the big possibility that he had some information to talk to. What's his name? That his pup Lukashenko about. They don't risk this information going through the normal intelligence channel or envoys or diplomatic means or whatever it is. So that's the big possibility. So there is something important that he wants to do. But again, that's only a possibility. Now, my witness to that, or an evidence that I can provide, is the Helsinki meeting between him and his pup, Shrimp Trump. Do you remember the Helsinki meeting when Trump pushed out his staff and then met with Pustalinin alone? Not just that, Pustalinin brought his own car, his own limousine that is armored vehicle, like bulletproof and so on and so forth, as to know. And now I know, that there was a lot of information, a lot of top secret US information passed from Trump to Pustalinin during that meeting. And then he gave him instructions such as about talking about chat with Iran and, and so on and so forth. And they couldn't risk this information being caught in the public domain or in the intelligence by the intelligence communities. So he came by himself. He even drove his own car, and the room was searched and there's some power that you cannot hide from. So that's what I'm thinking. The other thing is he may be setting up for a sucker punch against the Baltic states. NATO, this guy, this creature, the bear creature, the one who is, a bear is it forages, it's ruthless, it has no emotions, it's even cannibal. When a bear spots a baby bear, they immediately eat it. They immediately tear it apart and eat it. If a bear falls upon another bear that has just been killed or died or something, they immediately start eating it. A bear has no notion of certain diet or whatever it is, or emotions or anything else. The only emotions in the bear community is the mother toward its own cubs when she is raising them. When it's raising them. Otherwise, once they're on their own, that's it. She doesn't know them anymore. That's what bears are. Similar to sharks in personality. That's what these guys are. They're so devoid of human emotions and the sense of society and belonging that they're willing to send 100,000 to get killed in Ukraine so that they can just spread their rule over Europe. These guys are on a plan, or on a mission, on a plot, on a schedule, and so on and so forth. And they falter. and they will falter. The grand plan is going to fail. So that's a possibility. But is it 100% certain? No, but I would be very careful of this treacherous individual and his sidekicks and cabals like Shwego, like Lavrov, and above them, of course, your Netanyahu, right, and the Ayatollahs. So what is the other possibility? The other possibility, I'm not here lecturing on anybody like in the military. The Ukrainian generals, oh, and those military men, you know, the Ukrainian generals who are in charge of the battle, and oh man, you don't lecture those people. No, no, no. I mean, they're human beings. They can make mistakes at the end of the day. And if you, as an individual, whoever you are, can introduce a notion or a possibility, and your thinking is working, or if you get a piece of information, right, you point them toward it, even though they may already know it, but you're still you have as a person who is part of this humanity and know that this evil is crawling in from the east toward Europe. Whether you like Europe or you don't, you know, this evil has proved itself very evil anywhere else, you know, ever since the Mongols until now. So you have the obligation, you are obligated, or you are obliged or obliged to get this thinking and forward it to them, so the generals can take it into account, right? And their intelligence community as well. So that's that. So the other possibility, before I broke off, is that I read that experts are saying that he's trying to draw Ukraine's attention from the south or from the east because he's going to commit an offensive. I don't think this guy can commit big offensives anymore. But the Ukrainians know, of course, his capabilities. They have intelligence, they have information on the ground, and so on. However, I think he's trying to release the pressure, especially in the wintertime, to relieve his troops in Ukraine from the pressure of the Ukrainian onslaught, even though it's slowed down and so on because of the winter, by insinuating so and so, similar to Kherson. Kherson, when they withdrew from Kherson, they started blurting about a trap and so on and so forth because they want to slow down the advancing Ukrainians from trapping their troops as they withdrew, right? But of course, you can't take that for granted. And I myself thought they even left there the dirty bomb or something like that. So that's that. There are many things he's doing. He's trying to perhaps, negotiate or something like that. Like trying Lukashenko reminds me of certain power that was defeated in World War II, and they tried to communicate with the U.S. on by way of Russia, communist, and that didn't work, right? Or anything can go. Or he's trying to. Some people suggested he's trying to run away or secure his way out. My thinking is this: I see a lot of Lukashenko rubbing shoulder and being subservient to Putin. He, and not just he, but also Kadyrov and others too, right? Being subservient and being so loyal and zealot and about helping Ukraine, helping Russia against Ukraine, and being loyal and camaraderie and sending troops and allowing Russia to use their land too. But when I look at Lukashenko, and this is not an advice for Putin, but I'd like to throw it in there, and it's real. I wouldn't trust that guy, not whatsoever. He is so much servile and subservient that you would suspect him, right? And I think if push comes to shove, Lukashenko is just going to arrest Putin and send him to The Hague or something of the sort. Or, I don't know. I mean, I saw that in the airport, like he produced a couple of maids, beautiful girls, Belarusian girls. One gave him some food to eat, one gave him a bouquet of flowers. I wouldn't, if I was that lizard of Moscow, I wouldn't eat the food or even sniff on the roses. But nonetheless, I think he was in a hurry. When that happened, you can see that he didn't have time for those two girls or formalities or celebrations or receptions. He just wanted to move on, thank them, and then he wanted to move on. He wanted to talk to Lukashenko. So the possibility of him setting up for a sucker punch against the Baltics is a highly likely, not 100%, but I would, if I was the Baltic state, I would really take that into consideration and look at this guy as a treacherous, backstabber, anything goes, right, from this Putin. So you don't lower your guard, whether you're Lithuania or Finland or whoever you are. Get ready for a fight. If he comes in, you need to make sure his tanks are, the turrets of his tanks fly in the air, right? And that his soldiers are dropped on the snow. Poor soldiers, Russian soldier is just a soldier, right? They've been under this horror of Mongols for 100 years, right? And now you may say this Mongol thing is, I'm doing a little bit exaggeration on this. No, folks. Lavrov not too long ago went to Mongolia and sat under the statue of Genghis Khan. And your historians know the Mongols and what they've done in the world. Back then, Genghis Khan and all the way to Hulagu and so on, they murdered probably 20% of the world population. Like it or not, they had this deep-rooted and bone-chilling hatred to knowledge and books and Muslims and so on. And when Hulagu was defeated, and now he, murdering so many people like Stalin and Lenin, right, started crying to Europeans. I said this before, but I'm going to put it in a new narration here. The narrative is more precise now, right? He started licking boot, and he wanted the Pope and the kings of Europe to help him come to kill those treacherous Muslims. Really? This is like Stalin blaming those 60 millions he sent to the gulags for blaming them for being like treacherous, right? What did they do? 60 million? How could 60 million be treacherous for you? Just think about it, right? And then it's not just that, even being treacherous, right? The torture in Siberia, and until now you can go to Siberia, those camps and those places where these poor folks were, and innocents, right? Many of them were Masonics, actually. You will still see their effects. You will still see the traces of tortures, of hunger, of bone. You will find bones, and you probably even find red blood salt colored frozen ice in there. Now here's the deal for you guys. The Crusaders back then in the Middle East didn't intervene on behalf of the Muslims, but they didn't go with Hulagu either, right? And it seems like they found the Muslims to be a better, choice than what they heard about the Mongols, right? And it seems like the Muslims did the same thing as well. But here's the deal for you guys. If Hulagu finished invading the Middle East and moved into Europe, he will have done to Rome and Paris and whoever it is, whatever city that is, he will have done the same thing as Baghdad. You can count on that, right? These guys are not just coward and bootlicker puppies, right? When their victim is unable to fight back, they become gory, right? But when their victim fights back, they become bootlickers, right? But the point is they are able to hide it. And that's them in Russia, right? That's them coming toward you in Ukraine. Now ask yourself this question. If Ukrainians are similar in both race as well as religion, right, with the Russians, and they're doing to them this much of murder and destruction and maim and deportation and abductions, and what do you think they're going to do to you, Germanics and Scandinavians? I told you before, see that movie, watch that movie, The 13th Warrior. That's not a fiction, folks. That has happened. Scandinavians get a lot of history from that book, right? That book was almost lost. One copy was found in Persia that It was nearly unreadable, and another copy was found elsewhere, right? And then in Damascus, a man called Muhammad Kurd Ali, Kurd, like being Kurdish, right? He was like a very prominent scholar and so on, and he insisted on bringing that to life. And guess what? You see horror in it. These people did what that movie say it did, dismembering Scandinavians and killing them, and that's them. They have not disappeared or vanished in history. That is them. That's the Pustalinin. That is the Ayatollahs. That's them, right there and then, right? Their brothers in the Middle East and so on. And now they come to you again. Notice, you may not see that to be a possibility or like distant, far-fetched, but that's the problem with people is they always dismiss things with impunity, right? And when they wake up the next day, what do they find? They find while they're in bed, the sword is right on their neck, right? Their enemy is right on top of them. And this you may not see. Iran now is fighting in Europe. I said this before, even the first 2 weeks. I'm on record with that. I told you that the Shiites are so, and their masters, like in the Netanyahus, are so destroyed by the failure of Pustalin's cabal in taking over Ukraine that they would eventually come and join. I'm on the record with that. You probably laughed, right? They're there. You saw their drones, and their drones flying into buildings looked like those airplanes flying into buildings in New York, right? It's reminiscent of horrific moment. I still remember that moment where I was working and so on. And to me, being from the Middle East, right, it was detrimental, right? It was very detrimental on me back then. I mean, I was like, for a while, me and my family has to, lay down. And I, in fact, doubted that we were going to be here anymore. Even though my children, 3 of my children, were born here and so on. Anyways, all my children were born here. At that point, 6 of my 6 children were born here, and I really doubted at that point that we were not going to be here anymore. Now they're there. The Iranians are there, but I assure you, it is not spoken of. They're there far more than you think they're there. And in fact, I doubt, or I suspect, that in Belarus, you may, in fact, if anything happens against the Baltics or against Ukraine from Belarus, and it happened from Belarus, but supposedly was Russian attack, right? I don't know why Ukraine is distinguishing between Russian and Belarus regime when it comes to attacks coming at them from Ukraine. Belarus is involved anyway, right? But now you're going to see Iranian, and that's probably one subject of the meeting between Putin and Belarus, possible, that there are many Shiites from Iran, from Lebanon, from Iraq, from Afghanistan, those Northern Alliance that you supported in power for a long time, they're fighting you now, right? They're fighting you on behalf of Putin, just like Kadyrov is, just like others are. So I suspect that. I suspect that forces are coming from the east. As far as Mongolia, I don't know. I mean, Lavrov was there, and they're collecting all kind of soldiers. And remember Dugin and his Eurasian thing, right? There are many Shiites in there. In those stands, there are many Shiites, and they're all in one edifice, one construct, one thing, right? They may be coming, right? So be careful there. The Shiites of the Middle East and the East, right? The stands in the East are more than involved in this war, and they may be now talking about bringing a lot of them into Belarus and doing what they're doing. I would take that very serious. If you're in the intelligence community, you better tell your people if you know anything about that. Make it known so that the establishments cannot pretend they cannot see or turn their face the other way until hell breaks loose in your society, right? Because if you're in the intelligence community and know anything and then hide it, you will be victim as well by those animals crawling in from the east, right? Look at Russians, what happened to them? Look at Iranians, what happened to them? Once that thing takes over, right? Look, so I told you about that movie. You have no idea how much they hate you, those Russians. Read the writings of Ilya Ehrenburg. That's EH, right? He's got German name or a Swedish name, but he's Russian, under Stalin. Read what he said about Germanics, right? These guys hate you for what you are. Why do they hate you? Because after World War One removed your power, right? Removed your self-rule. Between them, you were made beggars. I remember seeing on the streets of, footages, I wasn't there myself, right? Seeing people, officers sitting on the sidewalk begging for money, and I've seen German old people eating out of dead animals on the street, right? You know that. That's in World War II, between World War I and World War II. After World War II, the firestorm, and when they came in, oh, they did a job on you, folks. I told you to watch that movie, A Woman in New York, right? I'm sorry, A Woman in Berlin. A Woman in Berlin, it shows you what the Russian soldiers did to your women. The very same Anonima who wrote that book was being raped by a Russian orc, right? And then he spat on her. Go watch that movie. Folks, they hate you because after World War II and all that they've done to you, you Germanics recovered again, right? You recovered again. You look at Germanics, you look at Northwestern Europe, they flourished again. Of course, not the same as before, right? As society being broken down, right? And they hate you. They've come there because they look at you and see that all that they've done to you didn't destroy you completely. And now they've come to really take you out. You don't believe me? Go see my track record, right? What I said about this war and so on. Now you may say you have motive. Yeah, I have a motive. What is my motive? Oh, they destroyed his country, Syria, and he has personal interest or personal motive, his position toward Europe is colored. Oh, yes, yeah. Colored by what? Colored by what happened in my country. I have a motive to say so because I know that is what they will do to you in Europe. Now, that said, why do you care about my motives, right? Why do you care about my motives? So far, I've spoken the facts. And that horror, dark cloud looming on the horizon, rolling westward, is coming to do so and so to you. Last century, when they've done that to you in World War I and World War II, and 70 years of communism in Europe, right? I didn't speak, I wasn't around, right? I was born in 1962, so it was all before me. But I witnessed them murder JFK and RFK, decapitating the government of the United States and taking over, right? Taking over directly, not that before that they were stopped, right? They didn't have any influence back then, they didn't, but when JFK and RFK were killed, that's when the US government was decapitated, and they rule ever since in person, right? And January 6th, special date, right? 16. Remember Shabbat Eid? Anyways, was supposed to really do America, and that's it. Right? They were going to bring Stalin and Lenin, resurrect these two demons from hell, right? And then do to the United States what Lenin and Stalin did to Russia, and of course later. So don't underestimate my testimony or what's coming your way. If you're in the intelligence, if you're in the government, right? So I am a sheikh, not a rabbi. Sheikh is the origin of the word shah and stuff. The older man with wisdom, scholars and scholarship and so on. They go there here. It's not mandatory, but so I'm not a rabbi. I'm a sheikh. And sheikhs, usually real sheikhs, speak the truth because that's what our Prophet Muhammad told us. Anyways, that's it. Don't underestimate what's coming your way, folks. No. Don't underestimate. You've been helping those in the Middle East, those creatures in the Middle East and Afghanistan and here and there, and you thought they were always oppressed and they were done wrong. So can't be farther from the truth, folks. Cannot be farther from the truth. Those creatures, whether they are in charge in Syria or Iran or Iraq or where in Afghanistan and so on, oh, these worms, man, you don't know them. Uh, and your politicians failed you, your historians failed you, your researchers failed you because they don't tell you that they were done wrong and that we Sunni Muslims are oppressive and so on. That's not true. That's not true, folks. We're as liberal as it gets, as a matter of fact, so long we're within the borders of ethics and principles and ideals and faith and serenity of the heart and so on. In fact, much of your life in the West was actually taken from Islam, Sunni Islam. That's it. They were your neighbors before, and you know the effect of it, right? In Europe, Southern Europe, Muslims were there, Spain, France, Italy, and so on, and you know, they brought civilization, and guess what? What I'm trying to say here is we're not those bears, we're not those Shiites, we're not those hulagus, we're not those, oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to go back to Putin. So Putin is capable of a lot of things. Deception, this visit could be deception, just to distract the Ukrainians and throw some, like they say, kinks in their plans and draw forces back from the east and southeast, not because he want to commit an invasion, rather he wants probably to, and he may, you know, he may. And again, Ukrainian military folks, oh, I'm not talking about their leadership, you know, the jokers and stuff. No, 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 no. They've proven to be really good generals, right? So that's that. It could be that he's setting up for a sucker punch into Baltics. This guy is desperate. It could be many things, folks. It could be many things. I wouldn't take this guy at face value or trust his words. Or he is unpredictable and he is predictable at the same time. He's unpredictable that he's treacherous. He's willing to sign agreements and renege on them the next day if they serve his purpose in military games, right? And I spoke of that, what he did in Syria, the thousands of agreements he brokered, and cessation of hostilities and reconciliation and so on. Oh, really? They reneged on all of it. Here's the deal for you folks in Ukraine and in Germany, the Germanics and Scandinavians. You can make peace with him now, right? You can if you want. But then what he will do and his minions, they will create some anomaly among you, such as like some kind of a Nazi attack or whatever attack, you know, like a group, or he and his minions or brothers in the Middle East will do so. And then he will cancel all that, all those agreements that he did with you. It's that simple, folks. And then he will attack you. It's called false flag, if you ask me. So don't forget, they speak their minds, you know, it's in their words. They tell you and they slip and they speak. Like Dugin, speaking of Rabbi Dugin, speaking of Eurasia, taking over Europe. Oh, you didn't miss that, did you? Or Putin himself speaking about the West and the bourgeois and the imperialism and so on. Aren't these the same slogans he talked about? Those his grandfathers, the insects, the vermin of the Kremlin, when they established communism. You know what communism is, right? Whether you're a Cuban or South American or Chinese or Europeans. Most suffering in Europe's history happened starting with World War I and World War II, and then under the hegemony of communism, period. The most killing, and that includes Russia, of course, the most killing, the most torture, the most destruction of society, the most firestorms in Germany, the most in Europe. Europe has never seen, they've seen a lot of battles, right? A lot of battles, right? But they never, their society never suffered before until World War I. And starting from them, and still is. And what's coming your way? Because they hate you for your success and your ability to recover, right? Now they are coming to do a job on you. They will make sure now that you never recover again. Look at Russians, they never recovered. Look at them now. I read now, and I got some reports that if a Russian soldier was ordered to attack, like near Bakhmut or elsewhere. and uh, and I believe that. And if he doesn't want to attack or go for the attack, and he backs out or try to run, they will kill him. They will immediately kill him. Those Russians behind him, not Russians, those who are sitting in the back lines, making sure the troops are fighting, similar to World War II, they will kill him. Right? So whoever you are, spread the word, woman. This last 1 year, or okay, it started all in the last century. Well, in the 1700s, but it began to be transformed from theory and practice and dogma and so on into practice. I would say in the 1800s, late 1800s, possibly. Well, let's say the started with the French Revolution. Right, that's when it started. It never end. It will never end, folks, until those cabals are dispatched and sent back into hell where they came from. The Patriots, they're gonna send a Patriot battery. I don't know what Patriot is gonna do. The U.S. is gonna give Ukraine a Patriot battery. What is that gonna do, folks? As I know it, Russian airplanes no longer come all the way to Kiev or anywhere important. Besides, last I heard that those Patriots really are not specialized for low-flying $2,000 or $10,000 drones. So there's something wrong with that, right? If really United States and Germany and England and whoever it is want to help Ukraine fight off this aggression, they would pour in or open the floodgates of javelins, of stingers, of Carl Gustav, of long-range missiles like HIMARS, the 700-kilometer HIMARS, and precision-guided bombs, and that's cheap. That's not as expensive as the Patriot. So this Patriot thing, they're like growing so much about. I don't know what that is really. I think it's they're pulling wool before your eyes. That look, Patriots are coming, but if you, as a military person, look at this Patriot thing, it's deception, folks. What they're trying to do is say that they help Ukraine or we help Ukraine, right? And they want to steal the victory from the Ukrainian soldier. You better believe it. Even now, those establishments in the West are still hopeful, and they're helping with all they can Putin to turn around the loss in Ukraine and turn it into victory or something like that. You don't know those people, but this is not going to work, of course. The big picture is already destroyed, let's put it this way. But you don't know these people. They've been around for a long time, and they have the stamina like horses. Whoever you are in the intelligence community, folks, this is no joke. What's happening? What's coming your way in Germany onto your northwestern Europe, the Anglo-Saxons, and all in general? Oh, what's coming your way, folks? Oh, you, poor you. You can question my motives all you want. Doesn't matter. My motives do not matter. They're legitimate motives. It doesn't matter. The facts do matter. And look what happened in Ukraine. I told you they're going to make that before in Ukraine, and they did, right? They did. They're basically doing it like Syria. Have a nice day, my friends, and Slava Ukraine.